I absolutely have a weakness for Irish horror. It's usually a very fun, weird perspective.
There must be a typo on this page because I don't see the Flintstones episode with the bottomless pit.
It is more of a thriller than a horror movie, but it's so tense and just scary because almost all of the characters are children, and that really kind of ramps up the tension.
God love ya.
That was the best opening ever. Welcome. It is Fright Club Live. We are here at Gateway Film Center, our home away from home on High Street in Columbus, Ohio for the, what month is this? Yes, September edition of Fright Club Live, and it's going to be fun. We've got a great movie, and we've got a fun topic, and really a lot to talk about, starting with, well, we always want to thank Ginger Nuts of Horror. Fright Club is in partnership with Ginger Nuts of Horror, a great website and resource for horror lovers.
At gnofhorror.com. And they are a great site. And they just celebrate all things horror, which we know that you all love is horror. They do run movie reviews about horror films, a lot of Mad Wolf movie reviews, but they also do book reviews, which I find very helpful for new releases. And they do a lot of articles from and about horror filmmakers, horror writers. It's just a really great website that we recommend that you check out.
And by the way, we didn't even wish everyone a very happy Friday the 13th.
That's right.
As we tape this, it is Friday the 13th. Hope has her Camp Crystal Lake t-shirt on.
I do.
I was going to wear my full Jason getup, but I've just decided it was too damn hot. It's like 90 degrees. I'm not wearing all that stuff.
Plus, it's very hard to podcast through that
It
mask.
is, in a hockey mask. Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't really work. But a happy Friday the 13th. So that's always fun. Last time out, filmmaker Timothy Troy and our own schlocketeer, Daniel Baldwin, joined us as we talked about really the whole Alien franchise.
Yes.
Basically, Alien Romulus started it because we wanted to just debate where we thought it landed in the Alien franchise. But it was a good conversation. We all liked Romulus, just in varying degrees.
Yeah, I don't think any of us loved it, but we all enjoyed it. But yeah, in varying degrees. And I wanted to call out our friend Ben, who made a great point because, of course, the filmmaker, Fede Alvarez, Ben pointed out that Alien Romulus is essentially don't breathe in space, and that's really true.
Yeah.
It's not. There is one scene where I think he calls it out exactly,
Very
but really
much
even
so.
the plot is essentially the same film.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
but it worked. It worked in space,
and we got a lot of good response to that one, as we would expect. Always good to talk about aliens. So thank you for that. And we're looking forward to, I mentioned it was, September. So that means, man, we are dangerously close to one of our favorite events of the entire year, Nightmares Film Festival.
Yes.
Right here at Gateway Film Center next month. It's October 17th through the 20th. Yeah, a little bit earlier this year, but that's okay. And, man, they just announced, Jason, the co-founder, Jason Tostovan, just sent out the acceptance letters today. So all the filmmakers got their acceptance, and everybody's excited. It's going to be a blast.
It is. We are so excited. We're so thrilled. We're really eager for you to see some of what they have planned.
Yeah.
There are some really cool big-time filmmakers that are coming. That come in for this one.
Our friends Joe Swanberg is coming. Our friend Jen Wexler is coming.
Jennifer Reeder.
Our friend Jennifer Reeder.
Yeah.
They've all been here with us for various activities and events, and they're going to come back and be a part of Nightmares. It just gets really
and we're
better.
Going to record a Fright Club podcast.
We are.
Live at Gateway Film Center, live during Nightmares Film Festival. We're not going to show a movie with it. What we're going to do is do a panel where the judges get together and talk about some of the great movies that we are going to get the chance to see during the festival.
Yeah.
And we're really eager.
We're
to
lucky
do
enough
that.
to be on the jury. Brandon here in the audience, he's on the jury. So we're going to do that part of Nightmares Film Festival too. So a lot to be excited about. We hope you make it. And one more thing, one more shameless plug.
Shameless.
We've got as you may know, Hope has a book that have been published called Roost.
Yep.
And it's perfect for spooky season.
It
and
is.
we're going to do a book signing at Barnes & Noble.
Yeah, it was really nice because the book is just about 2 years old, but Barnes & Noble invited us over to do a book signing of this book on October the 25th, Friday, October the 25th. It's Friday, though, not Saturday. Friday, October 25th at the Barnes & Noble Atlantic from 6 to 8. So come out.
Love to have you come by. So, and thank you to Barnes & Noble for doing that.
Yeah.
That should be fun. All right, so a lot going on, and as always, we have to get moving because we have a great movie to show tonight, one that you've been really trying to get for a while.
Yes, actually for many years. Probably 10 or 12 years ago, I worked with the Gateway programmers for this program called Asia Extreme. And so we just picked a lot of different Asian horror films over the years. Not all of them were actually extreme. And one of the ones that I really wanted to show was Onibaba. It's just a favorite of mine. It's so weird and just beautiful. It's this gorgeous black and white film. It's so weird. And they couldn't get it, and I was sorry about that. And so I have really, since then, wanted a chance to show it on the big screen, to see it on the big screen. I've seen it many times, but never on a big screen. And so I'm super excited that we could show it tonight.
Yeah, this is good. And the topic is down in the pit. So that's pretty self-explanatory, but we've got a few that didn't make the top 5, so run through those a little bit.
Yeah, because I knew that there would be. I mean, I already had in my head 7, like 7 right away that I knew. But even like going further, there are a lot because I think it's really a primal fear of getting trapped underground or falling into a hole and not being able to get back out. And so there are a ton of them. There are 2 called The Hole that if you haven't seen, you should look out. One is a look up. One is a British film from 2001 starring Thora Birch. And the other, the great Joe Dante did one in 2009. And they're wildly different. They just both have the same title, and they're both great movies. The Pit. So The Pit is a 1981 ridiculously terrible, must-see movie. There's a possessed teddy bear. There are aliens. There's a weird little boy. There's a librarian. And then there is a pit. You should absolutely look that up if you haven't seen it before. It's super fun. Buried with Ryan Reynolds, Buried Alive. You know, that's a very tense and
uncomfortable.
Yeah, very uncomfortable movie. And then there are, The Pit and the Pendulum. The truth is, most cinematic versions of The Pit and the Pendulum, there's no pit. They don't have a pit. I don't know why this is. There's like a dungeon. There's like a room, but there's no pit. But there is an animated version. It's like a bunch of shorts. It's an anthology of animated shorts of different Poe stories. And it's called Extraordinary Tales. And it has a pit in The Pit and the Pendulum. And it's my favorite, actually, of all of those versions anyway. So I recommend that one.
Did you mention John in the Hole?
I did not mention John in the Hole.
Yeah, that's a good one from just a couple, 3 years ago.
Yeah, that's a good one. And it's borderline horror, but it is actually a really good movie.
Yeah.
They don't show how humans wind up in the pit, and you're going to spend the whole movie going, what? But if you can get past that, the entire rest of the movie is great. It's gorgeous. The performances are stunning.
Yeah, it's more like a psychological study, but there's a horror element about it.
Yeah, it's very unsettling.
And I don't know, there must be a typo on this page because I don't see the Flintstones episode with the bottomless pit. I don't know why that didn't make this list, but we'll have to remedy that. So those are all good.
You know what? When I was a little kid, that episode terrified me because it's like just a funny joke.
Well, then why is it on here?
It's just a funny joke. It's the, oh no, madam, yes, that one.
Yeah.
And it's like she just like, oh yeah, he's fallen into the bottomless pit. Let's move on. And I was like a little kid watching it at home, like, wait a minute, he's just gonna fall forever and ever in this pit. I was so. You gonna throw him some Lunchables or what? He's just, I don't know. I was devastated by that episode, actually.
Well, you're with me then. We love us some Flintstones. Okay, so those are a few that didn't quite make it, but we've got 5 down in the pits.
That's right.
All right. So we'll start with one, and this was a favorite from just 5 years ago now. Man, doesn't seem like that long.
It doesn't.
But this is a single mother living in the Irish countryside with her son, beginning to suspect he may not be her son at all, and fears his increasingly disturbing behavior is linked to a mysterious sinkhole in the forest behind their house. This is The Hole in the Ground.
She didn't mean him any harm, Chris reminded her of our son.
What happened to him?
She was convinced that he was an imposter.
It's not Chris. It's not him.
Any history of disorders in your family?
Mummy, what's wrong?
You're not my son. Tell me the truth.
I am.
Stop lying. I'm not lying.
Mommy, where are you?
Yeah, this is a great one from writer-director Lee Cronin, who just, he just did The Evil Dead Rise just last year, and it's a movie about a woman who you're not really sure why she's doing it, what is in her past, but she and her young son moved to a very small Irish village, and they're clearly sort of, it's like it's a new start. But they're clearly like, I think, fleeing the ex-husband sort of a situation. And it's one of those movies where we had a lot in that same year, actually, where, a mom is looking at her little boy who's like sort of maybe 12-ish. And it's like this fear that once your little boy is not a little boy, is he really a monster? It's kind of like this, are all men monsters? Is this human being that I love more than all things ever made going to turn into a horrible monster of a man? And that's kind of the fear inside of it. One of the reasons that it works really well is because it's Irish. And so it's all hooked onto like weird fairy folk, right? And like changelings and what's going on in the pit. And there's just this out in the middle of, the boonies in Ireland with all of these very charming but sort of creepy neighbors. There's just this big fucking pit. And it's like a changeling narrative. It's really well done. The performances are great. And it just hits a chord that I found very unsettling.
Yeah, actually, the belief, I looked this up, the belief that a family member has been replaced by an imposter is an actual syndrome. In real life, it's called Capgras syndrome. And it actually, in some cases, can involve a pet or even an inanimate object.
I see.
Yeah. So there's scientific fact based in this
right.
movie. But I remember when it came out, you saw it first and you were really high on this.
Yes.
Really high on this.
I do. I absolutely have a weakness for Irish horror.
Yeah.
It's usually a very fun, weird perspective. Of course, my favorite forever is Grabbers, which we showed here the one time.
Yeah.
That
So
great
much fun.
creature feature, super fun. But I do like this one a lot.
And if you haven't seen it, this really isn't a spoiler, but it's cool, and it mirrors the theme, the changeling theme. The movie opens with the sound of a single piano note, and it ends with the same sound,
I see.
duplicated, which is very cool. But yeah, this is a good one, good Irish horror from 2019, The Hole in the Ground at number 5 in our Down in the Pit list.
Should we talk about where that title came from? Down in the Pit, Down in the Pit?
Yeah, tell the story.
I have 5 siblings. It's a game that we played called Down in the Pit, Down in the Pit. And it wasn't even in the out of doors, actually. I had a bed, and you jump on a bed enough and the mattress just sort of moves over. And so it was like there was about 8 inches between my bed frame and the wall, and my mattress was just up against the wall. So we would just push each other. So you fell, and then you were trapped under the mattress, down in the pit, down in the pit. And then we would just see how long we could make you stand being stuck there before we let you out. And that was our like our chanting.
Having fun with no money.
That's right.
That is Down
But
in the
my
Pit.
favorite part of that is that the chant, with the down in the pit,
It's
down
great.
in the pit. It's much creepier.
It's like one of us. One of us. Okay, let's move on to number 4. When she learns the supernatural pit worshipped by her remote community in the woods has demanded her a blood sacrifice, Ada struggles to find a way to survive, while the pit lashes out in anger in Jugface.
The pit has spoken. It is an honor to be chosen to be with it in this world. You know that. But without the blood, the waters of the pit would heal no one.
It's awake.
The pit wants what it wants.
This is one of those great backwoods horror, like snake handler, zealot horror films. Chad Crawford Kinkle made this one. And I'm a big fan of this. It also has a great cast.
Oh, if you're a veteran horror watcher, you're going to love this cast.
Oh, yeah. Well, so it's got Sean Young and
Larry Fessenden,
right?
Yep.
Beloved. But it's got 2 of the actors from The Woman, which is one of my all-time favorite horror films, Lauren Ashley Carter and Sean Bridgers. And Sean Bridgers, who is so terrifying in the movie The Woman, he plays like this sort of very sweethearted guy who kind of, in this movie, he gets overtaken. He's like a clay maker, a pot maker, by this spirit down in the pit, and he makes a jug face, and whoever's face that is...
Which I love.
Yeah. Whoever's face it is, they got to go feed the guy in the pit. Like, that's just, he like goes, he has like a fugue moment, and he crafts this pot, and then whoever's face it matches, they're like, oh, I'm going to the pit now. Awesome. Is that a rancor? And then Laura Ashley Carter, she realizes that it's her face. And so she's friends with this guy, and she's like, Yeah, I mean, I'm literally having sex with my brother. I'm pretty sure that's why the pit is mad at me, but let's not have me go down there. Anyway, all hell breaks loose. And it's a really creepy, fun, well-executed film. And you don't so much feel like, a lot of times when you watch those movies, it's clear that it's just the filmmaker is sort of poking fun at a group of people that he doesn't understand, right? And I don't think you necessarily feel that in this way. I mean, you really empathize with the characters, even though the sinner it's not even like, I mean, the sinner that's a sin. I mean, you really shouldn't be having sex with your brother. That's a bad decision that you've made. And I don't know how you didn't realize in this small community that this was going to anger the pit monster. What were you thinking?
Exactly.
But it is, I mean, I really enjoyed this film.
Yeah, me too. It was shot in just 17 days. And it also makes you think, if you ever go to one of those craft fairs and you see the people, the pottery that they're making, sometimes they make pots and cups that have faces on them.
That's
and
right.
Because you got to give them the side eye now.
That's right. Now you got to say down in the pit.
What's
down
going
in the pit.
on over there? But yeah, this one is fun, and it's got those, like we say, it's got the recognizable cast. And, you know, Sean Bridgers, just something about him, you know, he's
Not
always
right.
able to convey, he's always able to convey that little bit of humor, of dark humor in his face. Like, is this guy right? And he's usually not.
No.
Which is good.
He's usually got a woman in the shed out back.
Yeah, that's a problem. But yeah, like this one, Jugface from 2013. Man.
I know, man.
I cannot believe it is that long ago for number 4, Jugface. So let's move up to number 3 because, oh yeah, we got a movie to show. And this is from 2003. A young boy accidentally discovers a deep hole in the ground where another boy is kept prisoner. And this is called I'm Not Scared.
Sag's mir doch!
Ich habe keine Angst.
Fuck, this movie is great. Oh my God, this movie is amazing. It's just, everything about it is one of the most well-crafted thrillers. And it is more of a thriller than a horror movie, but it's so tense and just scary because almost all of the characters are children. And that really kind of ramps up the tension because you know they're going to make stupid decisions because they're kids. And you're like the whole time like, oh my God, please don't go down in that pit. What are you doing? And yeah, this little boy, he's out playing in the like the fields this hot summer. And this bully sort of, tries to convince people to do the wrong thing. And right off the bat, it sets this tension. You're like, oh, this bully is going to wreak havoc and these little kids are just going to get hurt. This is going to be so terrible. And then he just discovers as he's trying to find his sister's glasses, actually, because of the bully. And he sees through these slats a big hole in the ground. And when the sun comes through the slats, he sees a leg, like a little kid's leg, all the way at the bottom of this pit. I'm telling you that from the word go, your stomach is in a knot. Mm-hmm. This is such an incredibly well-crafted movie, and it's also really beautiful, just stunningly made. The filmmaker won an Oscar just a couple of years before this movie for the film Mediterraneo. He won the foreign language Oscar for it. And this has that same just lyrical beauty to it, but like everything has this undercurrent of dread that is so riveting. I just cannot, if you haven't seen this movie, I cannot possibly recommend it highly enough.
Yeah, and because it was mainly told from a child's point of view, the director instructed his cinematographer to shoot most of the film at a child's height, which you can tell, but it's very subtle, but it works on you. The story is set in 1978, and actually it was loosely based on a true story of a kidnapped boy from Milan, and then the novella that was written about that incident, which is kind of creepy too.
Really
The minute has a basis in fact. And the director apparently interviewed nearly 600 boys for the lead part, ultimately settling on a newcomer, Giuseppe Cristiano, the son of a local automobile plant worker, to take the lead. And man,
Gabriel Salvatore, by the way. Sorry, I didn't say the director's name.
Yes, you did. Oh, I thought you did. Oh, yeah. So there was a big search for that lead boy, and he really does a great job.
He really does a great job.
And there's something about the title too. I'm Not Scared.
I know. Yeah.
I love that. But it's a beautifully shot film and so effective from 2003. Number 3. I'm Not Scared. So let's move it up to, this is number 2, and this is the one that we're going to see tonight. So as usual, we're not going to talk too much about it, but it's 2 women kill samurai and sell their belongings for a living. And while one of them is having an affair with their neighbor, the other woman meets a mysterious samurai wearing a bizarre mask from 1964, Onibaba.
この面を取ってくれ
Yeah, we're not going to say very much about this.
How many people have seen it already? 2. Love it. Love it so
Nice.
much.
I'm so excited for you guys to watch this movie. It's really beautiful. Like, it's stunningly beautiful. It's so weird. It's just weird. And it's set in feudal Japan, and so it's just got this incredible time stamp about it that seems so harsh and brutal. It's it's nuts. So I'm very excited to talk about it.
Yeah.
And it's got this great mask as well.
Well, that's the one thing I was going to
Yeah.
say, that the demon mask, which you've probably seen maybe in some of the still photos, on one that we used for the Facebook event for this tonight, it inspired William Friedkin to use a similar design in The Exorcist for those subliminal shots, where you
Yeah.
just see the demon's face really quickly that are so creepy.
Yes.
Yeah, kind of an inspiration from this the mask tonight. But yeah, we won't talk anymore. But as usual, we definitely want to talk after.
Yes.
So after we've seen the film, we'll come back on and fire this up and get your reactions to Onibaba when we check it out. Oh, and we should mention, we haven't even mentioned the short film tonight, right?
That we have not, no. So we have a short film tonight called The Blood of the Dinosaurs. It's sort of like a super demented kids show, like a live-action Saturday morning kids show by filmmaker Joe Baden. It's so nuts. I absolutely am so thrilled that he let us show this movie tonight. So I'm excited for you guys to see them both. So if you have comments on that one either, we would love to have you talk to us about it at the end. So we're up to number 1 now.
Yep, number 1, if you've listened to this podcast for a while, you probably know. An all-time favorite. A caving expedition goes horribly wrong as the explorers become trapped and ultimately pursued by a strange breed of predators in The Descent.
There's only one way out of this chamber, and that's down the pipe.
This is not good, guys.
Can we get out of here? Which way?
I don't know.
Yeah, right. It's such a great movie.
It's so
Like
good.
one of the scariest movies of all time.
So well done.
And I got a chance to review it when it came out for the newspaper that we were writing for at the time. And I didn't know really anything about it. And I just drove. It was like the middle of the afternoon, and I drove to the theater and watched the movie. I was like giddy leaving that. I was like, I could not wait to tell people about this movie. Because it's so, right from the very beginning, there's this tragedy, there's this accident, you're like, oh my God. And then they all get together, and then they go spelunking. You're like, what are you even thinking about, right? And then this bone snaps in half. And then there's claustrophobia. I was like completely wrung out. And again, I didn't know anything about this movie. I'm completely exhausted from terror and horror. And then there's monsters. I was like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing I've ever
You know what?
seen.
Even before, there's that prologue that's very shocking of the tragedy at the beginning. Like, holy shit, where did that come from? And then they start the spelunking, and then Juno, GD Juno, tricking them and all that. And it's really, really terrifying. Like you said, before we even get to the monsters, because you can, the director, we haven't even mentioned, Neil Marshall from Dog Soldiers, of course, does a great job making you feel the depth, they're in there. And then even aside from the monsters, for me personally, it has one of the most terrifying sequences when she's going through that tiny little opening and could maybe get stuck in there.
She is stuck.
I know,
she
but
gets stuck.
forever.
Yeah.
That is like such a deep-seated fear. I'm like, oh my God. That's just the absolute worst. And that's before we even get to the monsters.
Oh, yeah.
And the way they slowly work the monsters in, like see just a little bit at the beginning.
Yeah.
And then, what was something going on back there? And it's just terrifying. And what Neil Marshall is able to do with the monsters and how they look and how they move and how they act, it's so
Dog Soldiers
well done.
is a great movie. And it was and then you're like, oh, it's the
He's got
movie.
a budget on this one.
This just far surpassed any expectations I ever had. It's
and beyond
an
that,
all-timer.
it's an interesting character study.
It is.
Because there's a lot of, stuff going on between these characters, especially the Juno and and the final, hey, welcome in. We find out that they have such a shared past.
They have a lot in common.
They have a lot in
They have
common.
a
Let's
lot
put
in
it that way.
common.
So it's character based as well, and just really a great monster movie.
Yes.
And a great exercise in down in the pit.
That's right. Just trying to get out of that pit. And of course, there's more than one ending.
Yeah.
So whether she gets out or she doesn't get out just depends on which version you find yourself
I
watching.
know. How shocking is that? Yeah. So that's a good one. So that is number 1, The Descent, and we've just got a couple minutes, and this is working out okay. So we'll fire up our movie. So it's Oni Baba tonight, and it's The Blood of the Dinosaurs, the short film before that, and then right into Oni Baba.
That's right.
And then come down, and we'll talk a bit more about Oni Baba.
That's right. And then if you get the chance, of course, so we're going to actually have 2 podcasts recorded in this theater next month. We're going to be at Nightmares Film Festival. We're also going to show, and this is another movie I've been trying to get for years. It's called Demon, and we're going to talk about weddings in horror movies. So I hope that you come back out for that one because we're very excited to get that movie. It's stunning.
October is action-packed.
Action-packed,
as it should be for spooky season. Okay, thanks a lot for coming out, and come down and talk after. And Stanimal, hit it. It's Oni Baba. Enjoy. Yeah, that's quite an abrupt ending, huh?
What did you think, though?
What do we think? Yes?
Okay, good.
Yes?
Yay!
Yeah. Hope so. Yeah, it seemed like people were into it. I mean, it seemed like it was holding your attention.
Yeah.
That's
What about Blood of the Dinosaur? Yeah.
That was weird, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's a weird one.
Well, first off, that's a very cool mask.
It is a very cool mask.
And there's so many things, really, right from the start, you can see that influenced other films.
Yes.
Afterwards.
Yeah, for sure. It's funny. There's a movie that came out, I don't know, maybe 8 years ago called The Survivalist, and it's there are a lot of movies with that name. This one has Mia Goth in it, and it's it's a post-apocalyptic. And a woman and a younger woman are like surviving on their own, and then all of a sudden they involve themselves with a man, and it always, of course, reminded me of this, which is these 2 women have figured out how to just barely scrape by, and then all of a sudden when the man becomes involved, the older woman is like, well, I'm doomed, and then has to sort of figure out how am I going to rebalance this hierarchy.
Yeah.
But obviously it made me think of this movie.
Yeah, and also when she lowers herself down into the pit, reminded me of The Ring, which doesn't qualify because that's technically a well, right? I mean, people might be thinking that, well, isn't that kind of a pit? But it's a well. We got any thoughts?
Cinematography on that was beautiful.
Wasn't it?
That was the most crisp, and I've never seen grass look so damn scary in my life.
Right? You know, what that reminded me of actually was, and I didn't think about it until this time, was Jurassic Park.
Oh.
What were you going to say?
I was thinking of Reflecting Skin.
Oh, yeah.
And all that grass they went through. But
Yes.
a lot of movies, Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
But then I thought of even with the mask at the end, that famous mask episode of The Twilight Zone.
Absolutely, for sure.
Many things.
Yeah.
Many things. Very
But
influential.
yeah, I mean, the way they shoot the grass, the way... shoot the grass.
Nice.
The way
Nice
that
Die
they
Hard
keep
reference.
the camera really low, so when the bodies are being dragged, it's like you're peeking through the grass to watch that happen. It's really gorgeously shot.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I think that's a great point that Richard brings up is the grass is because they really are truly trapped.
Yeah.
They never leave the grass or the river.
No.
It just now dawned on me that that's where they're at the entire time. And I think that's a great, sort of moving over to how it's a great comment on class at that time in feudal Japan and how class played so much into what was happening there during war. And this is their state. And they had resigned themselves that this is how it was going to be. And the younger woman being able to find that man, even though initially this is not someone that she wanted to be with at all, because this was someone that clearly sent her husband to his death.
Right.
She's like, well, this is a way out for me.
Yeah, and maybe a longer opportunity to survive because he's younger than this woman and stronger, and seems to get a better bargain when they turn over their samurai loot.
Yeah, shocking. Not going to try to cheat the man as much as did the woman. Yeah, it's fascinating as it goes along, and I think it's a bit of a slow burn because the ending really is pretty shocking
and pretty abrupt.
And very abrupt.
Yeah.
Very abrupt. I heard there were some shrieks up
Gasping.
there.
Yes, there was some
I think they
gasping
might
up
take
there,
yeah. Really some shrieks. So yeah, it gets you sucked in. to their plight. And yeah, it's fascinating. But you can see why it's a landmark film and
For
cool
sure.
to see on the big screen.
Yeah.
I know a couple of people had seen it here already, but I forgot to ask. I should ask if they'd seen it on the big screen or not.
Right. This is my first time on the big screen.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I was very excited
Yeah,
about that.
for
And our
sure.
friend Seth was not able to make it today, but we want to thank Val for coming in his
Yeah,
stead.
you'll have to tell him. Tell him all about it. Thank you for coming out. So, well, we talked a little bit earlier about what's coming up in October. So, we hope to see you back here for Nightmares Film Festival. Man, it's going to be a time.
It is indeed.
We've got your book signing October 25th.
That's right.
At Barnes & Noble. So, a lot coming up. With it, October, spooky season, it should
That's
be
right.
an action-packed month, and it is.
Action-packed.
Thank you for coming out. As always, we'll get this edited, and it'll be on well, actually, no, because we're leaving for vacation here on Sunday.
That's right.
So we'll get this edited tomorrow and up a little bit earlier.
You kindly say we. Everybody here knows it's just you. So thank you. And we apologize for the technical difficulties today that we couldn't show anything. And it's funny if you leave the outside the little sign that says number 4, screening 4. It's buzzing back and forth. So I think that there's something demonic happening in this entire theater this evening.
Maybe so. Well, remember you can find us Fright Club Live on Instagram. And
yes.
Fright Club Pod on the X, and of course the Fright Club podcast group on Facebook. So always a lot of Fright Club fun, and madwolf.com, of course, is our main website. So we hope you keep in touch. We hope to see you next month.
Yep.
For all the fun.
Couple of times.
Yeah, a couple
3
of times. And until then, she is Hope Madden.
He's George Wolf.
And this is the Fright Club podcast.
Stay frightful, my friends.
It's bottomless.
Bottomless? You mean we just keep falling?
That's right. Forever and ever and ever, eh?